Good evening, everyone. This is Blair Miller, the Atlanta News First newsroom for ANF Plus, and let me get centered here. It is great to be with you here on this Wednesday evening. Until about noon today, I thought it was Thursday, so I don't know about you, but it's kind of the week we're having. But hopefully you're having a great week and getting through it okay. Here tonight, we're just going over some of the top stories that we have, and there's one big one in the news department that we are following tonight. We just wrapped up our editorial meeting for the 10 and 11 o'clock newscasts. And the big focus is what happened in Athens, Clarke County today concerning the Laken Riley murder case. And this case, if you've been following it this week, is just gut-wrenching. The amount of evidence and the testimony that has come out in this case, really laying out what's happened, has really just been so disturbing to follow. The reaction is pouring in tonight on what happened, not only in North Georgia, but really across the country. Family and friends of Laken Riley, they were in the courtroom again today. They do feel a little bit lighter after learning her killer will spend the rest of his life behind bars, and that includes no chance of getting out, no chance for parole. A guilty verdict for Jose Ibarra handed down today by this Athens judge. And this murder trial took less than a week from start to finish. That's largely because if you've been following it, it was with a judge, not with a jury, and that was something the suspect had chosen and certainly has that right. And our Atlanta News First reporter, Chelsea Bimefort, has been in the courtroom all week long. And once again, she was there today for this case as it wrapped up. And here's how she breaks it down.
An evil coward showed no regard for Laken or human life. We are asking that same be done to him.
For the first time since her daughter was murdered, Laken Riley's mother, Allison Phillips, spoke publicly Wednesday in court, asking Judge Patrick Haggard to impose the maximum sentence for the man convicted of killing her daughter.
He ripped away every beautiful memory we will ever be able to make with her again.
Laken's roommates and sister also explaining the unbearable pain felt in her absence.
We've been inseparable ever since the moment I was born, and I've been lost ever since she was senselessly stripped from our lives.
During closing arguments, the defense seemingly tried to pin the crime on Ibarra's brother, Diego, but in the end, it wasn't enough. Prosecutors said the evidence was overwhelming that Jose Ibarra was Laken Riley's killer, and the judge agreed.
Count 1, malice murder. I find the defendant guilty.
Jose Ibarra, an undocumented migrant from Venezuela, now faces life in prison without parole. Moving forward, Laken's family says they will work to keep her memory alive.
We refuse to let this person rob Laken of the hope she gave to her family, loved ones, friends, and the world as a whole. We will proudly carry this hope on in her name in the days ahead and for the rest of our lives, because together we can all keep hope alive.
Chelsea Bimefort, Atlanta News First.
The family giving those victim impact statements today, truly hard to listen to, but certainly so important as the judge came over that decision for Jose Ibarra to spend the rest of his life in prison, no chance of getting out. But you know, this case really has gained national attention for a number of reasons, and part of that has been the debate over illegal immigration. Jose Ibarra is from Venezuela. He was not here in the U.S. legally, and we know that President-elect Donald Trump met with Riley's family shortly after the murder, and there's been reaction, you know, from Washington here across the state on this. And the president-elect released this statement today saying, in part, quote, "We love you, Laken, and our hearts will always be with you." Trump then called for stronger border security, and that's really a sentiment echoed by Georgia Governor Brian Kemp. He wrote today, in part, "Open border policies failed Laken Riley, and today's verdict is a reminder that the safety of our communities must remain our #1 priority." And we also got a statement from Republican Mike Collins, who represents that area. He said, quote, "Justice has been served today, although I'm incredibly disappointed that our tax dollars, the same tax dollars that the Biden administration used to fly this killer to Georgia, will be used to house him in prison for the rest of his life." Collins represents Georgia's 10th congressional district. That includes Athens, McDonough, and Winder. This is a story we can continue to follow here tonight. I mentioned we just wrapped up our editorial call here that we do each night right before we stream to you live, and we talk about some of the stories we're working on, and we continue to work on this one tonight. Our Madeline Montgomery is there in Athens talking with students and getting their reaction, but we've also seen people showing up, putting flowers, putting tennis shoes by the path where Laken Riley took before she lost her life. So we'll have more on that coming up tonight at 10 and 11. Just a heartbreaking story. Shifting gears now, another big story is the cold that's coming. Maybe you saw what's been deemed a transition day, and I'm bringing meteorologist Patrick Pete here in a second, but been so nice this week. And then today, looked pretty out there, but the wind, and I haven't been out there tonight, I know earlier today the wind was starting to pick up, and meteorologist Patrick Pete was saying that certainly starting to see that transition. And then tomorrow morning, we're certainly going to feel it when we all step outside the door. So here he is, and I haven't been out. You got your jacket on like it's here.
Well, yeah, I went and did some cardio. I figured, I had a little bit of time to do some of that. So I got a nice.
How
little
is it
run.
out there right now?
Temperatures are falling. The wind gusts every once in a while, 20, 30 miles per hour. It is trending cooler, and that's going to be a big part of our weather story as we head through the next few hours. Good evening, everybody. I hope y'all are having a fantastic Wednesday. It's Wind Down Wednesday. I didn't feel right talking about wine in the newscast earlier today because, it's going to be cold, but nice glass of Tempranillo, something spicy. It'll keep you nice and warm. That's going to be the recommendation for tonight. Let's dive into this forecast. First of all, let's take a look at where we are as far as the winds, because that's what's ushering in that cooler air into the region. We're talking about winds gusting 20 miles per hour or so at the airport right now, so that is going to be a bit of a decrease from where we were earlier. About an hour ago, we had a 30 miles per hour gust at the airport, so that continues to bring in that cooler air. Temperatures right now 5 to 10 degrees cooler across North Georgia on average. There are some bigger differences in places like LJ, Blairsville. You're about 13 degrees cooler than yesterday evening. So just bundle up, folks. The cooler numbers are sliding in. We're down to 55 here in Atlanta. The upper 40s in Helen, mid 40s in LJ, and we're still holding on to upper 50s in Eatonton and Thomaston, but everybody's trending down as we head through the next few hours. We're talking about sliding into the 40s the closer we get to midnight. It's going to be chilly, where those morning temperatures are near 40 degrees across most of the metro, if not cooler than that. Be prepared for it. Now, being honest, this isn't going to be the coldest air ever. We're not saying that, but what we are saying is it's going to be the coolest air that some of us have seen in months since March, especially whenever you factor in the fact that it's going to be very windy. It's going to be gusty. That's going to make it feel even colder. And because, we were in the 70s today and only getting into the 50s tomorrow, there's a big difference in how that feels. And that's why we're first alerting. So this isn't going to be bone-chilling cold. This isn't going to be life-threatening cold, but it is going to be a shock to the system for sure. A lot of sunshine throughout all day parts tomorrow. Going to be gorgeous as far as the skies are concerned, but the temperatures are just not going to be that pleasant. I mentioned that the winds are going to be elevated. We're talking about 30, 35 miles per hour gusts likely across a large chunk of the late morning, early afternoon, but we could see some isolated gusts get as high as 40 plus. So we'll be watching for that. There is a very low end chance that we could get a couple of our counties into wind advisory tomorrow. The National Weather Service has not issued a wind advisory just yet, but it's something that we'll be on the lookout for. It's going to be a big part of our story tomorrow. As far as the numbers are concerned, here they are. We get into the mid-50s at best around the 3 o'clock hour tomorrow. But check out the numbers below, the blue number. That's the wind chill. And it's going to feel much cooler all day because of those elevated winds. So it's going to feel like freezing at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning when a lot of folks are walking to their car. Probably a good idea to remote start the vehicle for sure. And then those wind chills only get to about 50 in the afternoon. So I'm going to have my jacket on, something a little bit thicker than this tomorrow, because this is nice for like 60, 55 degrees. But when it's, in the 40s, you need something a little bit thicker. We expect this cooler air to continue to be reinforced into the area Friday. So while Thursday is a first alert weather day because it's the shock to your system, it's the first day of cooler numbers, Friday is actually going to be colder. We're going to struggle to get into the 50s in some communities Friday afternoon. You can see the upper 40s from Helen into Gainesville, 48 in Canton for an afternoon high. Atlanta is always one of the warmer spots. I think we'll get into the low 50s for an hour or two, but everyone else, it's just going to be a cold day with winds that are gusty as well on Friday. So those wind chills will actually be even lower. So it's going to feel like the 20s Friday morning when y'all walk out the door across most of the region. We see those numbers start to improve a little bit in the afternoon, but it's still going to keep that element of chill, those wind chills, staying in the 40s for a lot of folks most of the day. If you're lucky, you get to feel like the 50-degree mark Friday afternoon. It's just going to be chilly, to say the very least. We'll make it through. As long as you wear your jackets and you're prepared for it, you don't walk outside thinking that you're going to get 74 tomorrow, like you did today. As long as you're with us, you'll be okay. But heading into the weekend, we'll gradually start to turn the page. I think that Saturday is going to feel marginally better outside. Plenty of sun. We get into the upper 50s. And then by Sunday, you're going to be like, cold where? Like, yeah, it's going to be chilly in the morning, near 40 degrees. But Sunday afternoon, we're back to the mid 60s and warming as we head through the rest of the 7-day forecast. So if you're like me and you're just really inkling for a nice bowl of gumbo, like, tomorrow's the day to make it so you can enjoy it tomorrow evening with the family. You can enjoy that gumbo on Friday as far as, leftovers. And then you'll probably want to either have some for breakfast on Saturday or throw it in the freezer and freeze it because we start to warm by Sunday. So for all of my gumbo lovers out there, I know that there's some people that are from the boot like me. I know that some of y'all are experimenting with your gumbo recipe. This is the time for some of you all, by the way, that are gumbo experimenters that are playing around with a recipe. This is the time for you to get familiar with your recipe, kind of try to fine tune it, practice, some would say. You don't want to do this next week when folks are in town for Thanksgiving. And you don't want to wait until January, February, where we're getting those real good cold spells. At that point, we expect you by January, February to have that gumbo recipe perfected, right? We want you to take your time, make that roux, give that a good 90 minutes of making the roux and seasoning your roux, and perfecting the rest of that gumbo recipe. Y'all didn't come here for gumbo, but if you knew me, you knew everything was food with me. And so I paired the weather with food and I paired it with wine. So right now I'm thinking a nice bowl of gumbo with a big old glass of water and a nice Sauvignon Blanc. Or actually a little bit of whiskey just because we're getting cooler. A nice little Maker's Mark with splash of club soda would be nice. Anyways, 7-day forecast is warming as we turn the page into next week. Monday, we get back to 70 degrees. And then we're actually going to be watching for some rain opportunities. Looks like we'll have another cold front that slides through sometime Monday into Tuesday. Right now, guidance is hinting that the rain will likely arrive sometime second half of the day Monday through early Tuesday morning. But because it's so many days away, that timing could slide either way. Doesn't look like a whole lot of moisture, but looks like a decent shot of rain. I will go ahead and admit that we are taking a look at your Thanksgiving forecast already, and it does look like we're going to have a secondary front that passes through the area sometime Thursday into Friday, which means that there could be a rain chance Thursday into Friday. If you have the First Alert Weather app, the cool thing is, we only get a couple of minutes to talk to you guys on the news, and then we have a couple of minutes on the stream. But if you download the First Alert Weather app, we actually throw a 10-day forecast on there, so you can kind of get an idea of what we're thinking for Thanksgiving, but also you can watch that forecast as it evolves, because, anybody that's telling you they're going to give you a day 10 forecast that's going to be 1,000% accurate all the time, they're lying to you, and that's coming from Georgia's most accurate. Day 10, you're looking at the trends. Day 9, you're looking at the trends. But if you follow those trends over the course of the week, you can kind of be in line with what we're seeing. And if you see one day it looks like rain and thunderstorms at 40, 50%, and then we go down to 20%, you can kind of, take from that. There may be a spotty shower, but it's not going to be wet. It's not going to be a soaker. So that's one of the coolest things about our First Alert Weather app is that we continuously update that through day 10 for you guys and give you a look at what we're seeing. So now that I've tooted my own horn and my team's own horn, I'm going to leave you guys with the 7-day forecast so that you can, hopefully be very prepared tomorrow when you walk out of the door for the cold. If you're not prepared, it's not because we didn't tell you, because we've been talking about it for days. That's why it's a First Alert Weather Day, because it's going to be windy, it's going to be chilly. If you're from New England, this probably won't be the worst feeling day at all. If you are from Louisiana or Texas, South Texas, Mississippi, Alabama, you may not be that comfortable tomorrow. And if you're from Atlanta or from the Georgia area, unless you're from the mountains, maybe not the best either, but it's going to be sunny and it's going to be dry. Just bundle up and you'll be okay. All right, guys, we're going to have another look at some of this data. Obviously, this Tuesday, Wednesday situation next week. We'll have some updated model data, and I'll be able to break that to you at 11 o'clock on Atlanta News First. So y'all have a good night. Take your screen grabs. Dress accordingly the next couple of days. It's going to be chilly.